Hi, I'm the incoming culinary committee chair. Just a quick note. I'm seeing in the survey results a lot of people interested in culinary topics and doing more in-person events. And I'm hearing that from within the committee too. So we're going to have a planning meeting in the next 2 weeks to sort of brainstorm up these ideas and start putting our schedule together. If you have ideas for things that you think it would be really cool that we did, you should email me with those ideas. Or better yet, you should join the culinary committee and be part of the conversation. This is my sales pitch. MAW is completely a volunteer enthusiasm and volunteer time driven organization. If you think it's cool, come help make it happen. Off sales pitch. So one of the things that we will almost certainly make happen is some hospitality for the Eugenia Bone event, because she is also known as the editor of you're not going to be able to see this on my lousy camera, the Fantastic Fungi Community Cookbook. So we have some superb cooks in this club, and I feel like we need to represent. So if you're coming to that meeting or thinking of coming to that meeting, please register so we know how many people are coming, and let's put on a good show for her. And then I just have one or two more. So that's it for me. I've just got a few more slides. Tom, can you scroll to the next slide? Thanks. So as has already been mentioned, Sunday was this year's annual MAW Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. April took these photos, so she's not in them, but props go to April and Talia for organizing a great event. I think everybody ate really, really well and nobody got trapped by the snowstorm. You see lots of smiling, happy faces here. Next, please. Next slide, please. Great. So one thing I'm definitely going to do this year is continue a segment April started last year that she called From the ID Table to the Kitchen Table. So this time of year, there is not a whole lot of edible fungi out there in the woods. I've heard a few people found bluets during that warm spell we had last week. I was at a New Year's Day party where the kids got bored and went down into the woods and came back with a handful of the prettiest oysters I've ever seen, but there's not a whole lot out there. So I thought I would take a minute and highlight a sometimes overlooked humble fungus that loves this kind of weather. If you can see from the seasonality chart from INAT here for this species, the American amber jelly fungus, Exidia crenata, loves this kind of cold, wet weather that we get. Its reports peak in the end of December and the beginning of January. And then again, when we get that March snowstorm that we always get. This is its time. And, jellies are not the best culinarily because they don't have a ton of flavor character, but this time of year, they're often very easy to find. And I think next week, after all of this stuff melts, they're going to pop up again. So here's a INET observation collected from my backyard to show you kind of how you find it in the wild. It grows on fallen sticks. That's where you're going to find it. And when you find it, it may either be sort of moist and fresh looking like this at the top of the stick, or it might be kind of dried up and crusty like you see at the bottom of the stick. Either way, it doesn't matter. Take it home, throw it in a bowl of water. You're going to want to wash the grit and the little bits of bark off of it anyhow, and it will rehydrate beautifully, as you can see on the right. That's not from my net, that's from my kitchen where I'm calling where I am now, in fact. And if you're familiar with wood ears, you might think, these look a little bit superficially like wood ears. They're much more tender in texture, but like wood ears, they hold up well to cooking and they'll keep that texture and flavor rather than, collapsing into nothing the way some very moist mushrooms do. Next slide, please. So I'm going to show you two things that I've done recently with these. The one on the left is very simple. That was the first flush of them I found this year. I was teleworking that day. I found a handful. I was making some instant ramen noodles for lunch, and I threw them in when the noodles were about half cooked, added some seasonings and some other leftovers. And you don't have to get fancy, right? So then a few more recently, I was making pierogies for New Year's Eve because I'm from Western Pennsylvania and that's a thing there. And my kid came running into the room saying, Mom, they're everywhere. You need a bowl. And sure enough, I needed a bowl because they were suddenly everywhere. So what you see on the right is traditional sauerkraut and mushroom pierogies in progress. I sauteed some portobellos, and when they were 90% of the way cooked, I threw the jelly fungus in the pan for the last couple of minutes, mixed it with the, oh yes, hello, there you are now.
I heard your story. No, I didn't. I actually heard the story.
Okay, enough.
Hey!
Oh no. Anyhow, it was great. It came out really nicely. It kept that flavor contrast between the savory sauteed mushrooms and the tangy sauerkraut, but it lightened up the texture of the filling. So I think that was a pretty successful experiment. So for next month, y'all can do better than instant ramen noodles, people. Send me pictures of what you're cooking out there.